Hello, my name is Michael O'Keefe, and this show is called Michael O'Keefe Goes to the Movies, where I tell you about movies I believe are of note and that you should check out. Are you a fan of horror movies? You probably should be. They're freaking great. They're a lot of fun. You laugh, you cry, you see your life flash before you. So I'm talking today to Craig Sitter, who's got a very cool horror movie called 645. Um, it's definitely a movie that stuck with me. I had to think about it for a couple of days, and I feel like I'm just getting it now. But I'm sure Craig's going to set me straight and tell me all the things I missed, and he's going to tell you why it's a cool one to check out. So before we talk to Craig, I'm going to show you that trailer right now.
Who's the snake last for?
Every morning we wake up at 6:45 in the a.m. and something happens to you.
Something happened on the island a few years ago. A couple visiting Bog Grove were killed over by the cathedral. The girl's throat was slashed. The fella's neck snapped like a twig.
Do they know who did it?
They never caught the guy.
I'm trying to save you.
I just need you to trust me. Please, trust me.
You had a bad dream, that's all.
Everything. It feels so...
You're fine, okay? We're fine.
You know what you need to do, Bobby.
What the hell does that mean?
Have you been drinking?
Are you serious?
Well, you're
Come on.
looking around like a crazy maniac. You're just gonna keep on doing this, aren't you? You're just gonna keep on doing this, huh? You really love me, huh?
Everything all right in there?
I'm fine. Everything is fine. I don't know what you think happened to me. What are you trying to say? Who you broke?
I never hurt you. You know that.
Don't worry, you kids are gonna have a great day.
Okay, hello, Craig Sitter. Tell me a few reasons why you're excited by the release of your movie 645.
Hey, Mike. Thanks for having me. Couple of reasons. First of all, it was a real labor of love. I'd been an executive with the Walt Disney Company for about 9 years, so this was kind of my entry back into the independent film world. I'd done some studio films, and I was really itching to get back and really surrounded myself with a young, talented team of filmmakers, and their enthusiasm and talent was really infectious. So, very special journey working and living together in a big old Victorian bed and breakfast, and everybody kind of leaving their egos at the front door, pitching in and wearing many, many hats. All of us were. And also, I feel there's a special relationship to what the world has just lived through for the past few years with the pandemic, in that the subject matter of the film is about a day that repeats and waking up to the sameness of every day. And I feel like during COVID that we all kind of experienced our own version of the film 645 in a strange way, with this kind of repeating of the day and how we all had to deal with our own mental well-being and the challenges that we all individually face, which I think was really meaningful and bittersweet in a lot of ways. And hopefully we're kind of coming out the other end of this at this point. But it was an incredible journey, and a lot of my cast and crew actually had COVID before it was even a thing, before they even had a name for it. But we kind of plowed through and focused on the business at hand of making this film together, and I'm very, very proud of the results.
Well, that's good stuff. So you shot this in 2020, I'm assuming? You said the early days of COVID?
Yeah, right. But as a matter of fact, when we wrapped principal photography, I think 2 weeks later, the world just turned upside down. So it was crazy.
Oh my God, that's nuts. I feel like there's a lot of movies that are just in the can that I don't know how long it's going to take. How many do you figure are movies were done either right at COVID or before COVID that we haven't seen yet?
I don't know, but I'll tell you one thing. When we were in post-production, we did kind of the one thing that the pandemic encouraged, which was working alone in darkened rooms by ourselves virtually. So my post team, editor, sound, music, we all were kind of huddled in our own little bunkers, and it was really great to be able to focus on the film. And also with technology, we were able to really get a tremendous amount of work accomplished, even though we were working virtually. We did come together for the final mix and some of the post sections of the film, but a lot of the film was done virtually. So we really tried to be very productive and spend the COVID years accordingly.
Okay. Do you like your poster? Do you feel it gets the Groundhog Day vibe or overall vibe you're going for?
I love the poster. So Pablo, my poster artist, is a Spanish artist, and he's kind of a famous artist. And he does a lot of very, very famous studio posters. So we were blessed that he was willing to. He really loved the script. And the thing I love so much about our poster is it's got a great kind of a grindhouse, spaghetti western vibe, if you will. So it kind of has this retro vibe, but it's also very moody and evocative. And I couldn't be more pleased. It's probably my favorite poster out of all my films. And the cover art for the domestic release is a little bit different, understandably, because they have to market it differently with thumbnails and things like that. But I'm very, very proud of the 645 poster. I think it's a work of art in and of itself.
Nice. And of course, the Blu-ray is coming out March 22nd. Are you a physical media guy still? And if you are, what do you think is the fun part of owning Blu-rays or 4K or DVDs or whatever?
I mean, yeah, I am. It's very tactile. It's very nice to have a collectible keepsake. When my first film, I actually shot on 35 millimeter film, so I had the pleasure of actually working with work print and film for a period of time, which I think is very, very unusual nowadays. It's all digital. Some filmmakers have the luxury of shooting on 35 millimeter, but usually those are some of the blockbuster films and much more established filmmakers. But I did have that experience, and it kind of it spoiled me in a way, because it really helped formulate a respect and an opinion of being able to touch the film. And I guess DVDs and Blu-rays are the next best thing. I don't think many people are out buying Laserdiscs nowadays, but I still like the idea of owning the Blu-ray is pretty neat in my opinion.
Absolutely, but some people still really like VHS. They're not letting that medium go. It's like the
That's
vinyl
true.
Like
Before I was
Blu-ray,
filmmaking, I owned video stores in Tampa, and that was kind of my film
Oh,
school.
cool.
I couldn't afford film school, so I had video stores, and
Yeah.
so very familiar with Beta and VHS, and still have a large collection of VHS from the 80s, a lot of great horror films and dramas and classics. So I've kind of held on to those. I don't really, honestly, don't pop the VHS in that often, but funny story. So when I met, Kevin Smith and I are acquaintances. I guess you could say we're friendly. And when I met Kevin for the first time, he had never seen Pink Flamingos, the John Waters film. So I loaned Kevin my VHS copy of Pink Flamingos, and I never got it back. So if Kevin or anybody out there who knows Kevin is watching, I want my Pink Flamingos back, Smith.
That's the problem with letting stuff out. You're risking it. You may never see it again.
That's right.
That's funny. Kevin, give him back Pink Flamingos, for God's sake. How many years has he had it for? Anyways,
Oh gosh, it's a long.
Yeah, probably a while, huh? So I feel like there aren't a lot of romantic movies in the horror genre. So what were some of the movies that influenced 645?
Well, obviously the comparison to Groundhog Day is pretty undeniable, but this really is a romance. It's a love story. I think it may even skew female. It's a great date film. I look at it as a incredible romantic weekend getaway where things go, tragically wrong, terribly wrong for our protagonist, played by Michael Reed, and his love interest is Augie Duke, and it's kind of a great story how we met and we wanted to make this film together, and we really stuck together as a team. Augie and Michael are a fantastic acting couple and a real life couple as well. They just had a baby, and Augie really was the first person I'd committed to in the film, and she asked me to look at Michael's work, and I was a little bit nervous because they're boyfriend and girlfriend, and I said, well, what if they don't get along on set, or what if I don't like his work? I was a little nervous, but he's just spectacular. He's going to turn a lot of heads, as will she in this film. And I think this journey is going to kind of raise both of their profiles in a pretty meaningful way.
Yeah, I like authentic casting. Where it's not totally slick; it's that realness. So tell me what viewers can expect from the chemistry of your couple, and what was your role in developing that chemistry for the movie, at least?
Well, they lived together. We rehearsed together. They were already a couple, so it was really just making them comfortable and creating a safe environment where we can experiment and play and try different things out. I'm a believer in not really micromanaging my talent and just casting appropriately and letting them do their thing, so to speak. The cast was wonderful, and I cast the film myself because we really didn't have the resources. So, like with the case of Armin Garrow, I'd met him at the Actors Studio at a Lyle Kessler play, and I just approached him and I said, I really love your work. I'd seen him in The Departed, in American Hustle, and The Sopranos, and said I'd love to work with you one day. And in the case of Tom Waits, who plays Larry the bartender, Tom and I had worked together for many, many years. He's got a great following from his work in The Thing with Kurt Russell, and he was one of the original Warriors in the film The Warriors, and he actually directed my first off-Broadway play called Paradiddle. So Tom and I go way back, and he was fantastic. And then, the rest of the cast, Allie Daniels, Sasha Gordon, Sabina, 45 King, Remy Ma, they all kind of fell into place. And I was really blessed that people showed up and took it seriously and worked very, very hard. And I worked with a lot of my old teammates from, my composer, Kostas Christidis, and my editor Sam Edelman, and my cinematographer Lucas Batassi. We formed fast bonds and friendships, and we all worked really well together. We were very, very fortunate. It reminded me of kind of Coppola style filmmaking in the late 60s, early 70s, where everybody kind of lived and played together, and I think the results speak for themselves.
Remy Ma. You got Remy Ma. What was she like?
Had no idea who she was. Never heard of Remy Ma. I'm kind of a classic rock guy, but she was terrific. She was really focused and dedicated, and she knew her lines and completely professional. And her husband Papoose showed up, and he was a gentleman. And yeah, she was just a joy to work with. So
Papoose came to your set. I'm a big Papoose fan.
Oh, really? Yeah, no, I wasn't familiar with his work, but he just couldn't have been nicer. And yeah, we took photos, and he may actually be in my next film. We're talking about working together as a director-actor.
Oh my God, do it. Cast him. He's great. Very charismatic guy.
I'll tell him you said so, Michael.
Tell him Michael O'Keefe is 100% behind this. Okay.
Got it.
So, and The Thing, you got someone from The Thing. That's amazing.
Tom's a great teacher and actor and director. Got to remember, he starred opposite Al Pacino in Mammoth's American Buffalo, and Al Pacino can work with any actor on earth. So for him to cast Tom as his co-lead speaks volumes, in my opinion.
Absolutely, that's legit. So are you personally a fan of romantic trips, romantic getaways? And what can you say about the locations that we get in the movie?
Well, I think it's almost a cliche where people talk about locations being a character in the film, but in the case of 645, it really is. This incredible town looks like it was pulled out of a Norman Rockwell painting, and it's just lush and gorgeous, and it gives you, a feeling of isolation, but also romance and beauty. It's not been filmed heavily and not really been overly used or saturated like some locations, so it was a real gem. And I feel completely blessed that we were able to shoot there and live there. And then some of the surrounding towns along the Jersey Shore were also equally supportive, and we're very, very fortunate. I like to shoot in my backyard. I mean, I've filmed all over the world. I've shot a film in Romania and all over. And it's always nice to be able to sleep in one's bed at night and to have kind of the comfort zone of working in places that you're familiar, because inevitably in independent film world, things come up, whether it's, losing a set or needing a cover set or the weather and this and that. And it's nice to be able to kind of hit the ground running, and when challenges do arise, which inevitably they always arise, you're able to be nimble and kind of address them as best you can.
How much time did you spend scouting locations?
Oh, about 10 years. we, I've been
10
thinking about
years.
the film. I've been thinking about the film for a while. It's funny because
Wow.
whenever the money comes in, then producers start to chase tax incentives, and oh, let's shoot it in New Mexico, let's shoot it in Rhode Island, let's shoot it in Bulgaria, and inevitably, if you could pull in favors from local relationships or people you've worked with in the past, a lot of times those types of concessions can offset some of the tax incentives. So you really have to be mindful and thoughtful of how you approach this thing. And since I was a producer on this film as well as the director, I tried to be very, very judicious and fair-minded with regard to how we shot the film and where we shot the film. And it just happened to work out. And I feel really, really fortunate that we were able to shoot it down the shore. I've shot films, like I said, other places, but it's always nice when you could work within your comfort zone.
Okay, yeah. And you said you were an executive at Disney for 9 years?
Yeah, I had a very, very small entertainment company that I founded and bootstrapped in Tribeca in the city. And we were kind of pioneers in the user-generated content space. So I was very, very experienced in kind of growing and galvanizing audiences around digital media. And when I went to Disney, they asked me to stay on as a creative vice president, and I did that. But I always knew I wanted to get back to the director's chair. And so with 645, it gave me that opportunity. And now I've got a small slate of films that I'm going to produce and direct. So I'm really, really excited about that. And I'm glad I had the experience at Disney because it's a wonderful company. And it was a great set of relationships, which I've kept to this day. But traditional filmmaking is my true passion. And it's not only a privilege, but it's an honor to be able to do what we do. And it's very, very difficult and challenging. So many different orbits and universes have to align. It's unimaginable the amount of time and energy and effort that sometimes go into these projects. It's a miracle that things actually get made. But I feel really, really fortunate that we were able to pull this off.
Well, it must be a huge advantage though to have that production background while you hit the pavement in the day-to-day tasks directing. It must be hugely helpful to have your experience.
Yes and no. I mean, every film is its own thing. It's its own baby, and it's almost like hitting the reset button. Each film offers its own set of challenges, and circumstances are different, and it's almost like you're making your first film with each new project. I know that sounds kind of weird, but it's true. It's such a strange, unorthodox way to make one's way through life, because you're living in a kind of a fantasy world, and I think someone once said it's like a hostage negotiation with reality, making a film. And I love that because it really is. It's true. And what could be better than working with young talented artists and having the opportunity to kind of throw in your 2 cents and kind of get out of the way of the creatives. And sometimes you don't want to assert yourself too much. You just want to give people the flexibility to get them out of that creative straitjacket that sometimes we find ourselves in. And I think people are going to really enjoy this film. I do.
Nice. Okay, so tell me, I love the couple of this movie, but my guy is Gene. Gene is a scene stealer, in my opinion. So tell
He is.
people about that character.
So Armand Garrow, Gene, he was just won the SAG Ensemble Award for the film Coda, which I'm very proud of Armand's work. He's an amazing actor. There's actually another film that he and I are developing together, and we became good friends. He takes his craft very, very seriously, and he's a hell of a nice human being, very generous with his talent and his time. And he came out and was just completely in the moment and professional, and I enjoyed every minute with him. And my only regret was that we didn't have more scenes with Gene, because he's a real crowd pleaser.
Yeah, definitely. And tell me about the vibe you create with some of the other supporting cast members.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of interesting characters, supporting characters. Allie Marshall plays Pearl the waitress, and 45 King, who's kind of a legendary hip hop artist, plays Mark, and he's kind of the sidekick of Brooklyn, who's played by Sasha Gordon, another actress who was nominated for a Canadian Academy Award for a film she did called Natasha, which I really liked, and we wanted to work together. And like I said, I mentioned Tom Waits and Sabina Hoffman. We'd worked on a short film together, and we wanted to work on this. And so people, you pull in favors, and you remember people you've worked with or people that you've wanted to work with, and it comes together one actor at a time. And it's like dominoes. You just start to formulate plans, and if things don't work out and actors have to drop out, you have to recast, and things like that happen all the time. So you've got to be really flexible and afford yourself the opportunity to fail and to regroup and to make quick decisions that are hopefully the right decisions.
Yeah, I feel like anytime you're in a new environment, not even on a romantic getaway, sometimes people really like stand out because you're not familiar with them, and maybe you find them obnoxious or maybe you find them charming. But these people, these locals, definitely have that weird outsider vibe that definitely makes things just feel a little off. That I thought worse.
Thank you. No, I agree. I think that there's a really eerie, and I think that's also helped along with the Lucas Pitassi cinematography. He's a brilliant cinematographer. He and I became very close. The lenses, the lighting, the Kostas Christidis' music, Sam Edelman's inspired editing. Sam is an incredible editor, and such an honor to work with him. All of these different crafts come together, and they help create that eeriness that you're speaking of, in addition to the actors. So it's really a family affair, if you will, and I couldn't be more pleased with how it turned out.
Where is the eeriest place you've ever been to?
Oh, that was easy. Romania. Yeah, shooting in Romania was definitely it was no joke. It was the real deal, and
Yeah,
I was very much a fish out of water. And we shot
yeah,
nights, which means we started shooting at like 10 p.m., which I hated. It's just not
yeah.
normal for the body clock to be thrown into such chaos, and I was not a happy camper. I remember we'd have lunch at like 3 in the morning, and the studio was had a pool. The owner of the studio had a pool at his private residence, and he gave us permission to swim. So I used to skip lunch every night and just had to get my body in the water and swim just to kind of bring myself back to life, because my body clock was so screwed up. But that film was called Perkins 14, and I'm very proud of that film. That was a Lionsgate film, and then I actually shot nights for Dark Ride at Universal with Jamie Lynn Sigler. We did that film for Lionsgate also, and that was nights. So I'm happy to not shoot nights because it's really very terrible. I hate it, and you
Yeah.
black out. You go home to your apartment, and you black out your windows, and then when you have your days off, you try to get your body back into turnaround, and it's a complete mess. So if I could avoid shooting nights, I certainly tend to try to do that.
Yeah, I've done that once or twice. The whole working at night on a film set, and it messes you up for a few days at least.
Yeah, 100%, Mike. I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a horror movie. So you got to tell us about the killer or your menace, let's say, in this movie. Maybe it's more existential.
My
Yeah,
secret weapon.
yeah,
So we were originally going to have like our art department help out and play the killer, and then I cast an actor. And actually, Tom Waits helped me find this wonderful actor, Matthew. And then best decision I made, because he knew how to move his body. He knew how to really added so much to the film. I think it was perhaps the best decision I made was hiring an actor to play the Shadow Man. We call him the Shadow Man, and he did such a great job. And he's just a wonderful, wonderful young actor. I hope to work with him in the future. We became friends, and he was a trooper because he was covered in makeup and these certain uncomfortable contact lenses. But he just adds so much to the film that I was so thrilled to have him as part of our film family, and just a delight to work with as well.
Tell me about those contact lenses. Was there any any trouble with them? Is it dangerous to put in something like that thick? Is it thicker material to make it
No,
look that weird? I don't
it's
just yeah.
they've got it pretty much down. Our Angel, our makeup artist, she was terrific and worked with him to mitigate the discomfort. But there was a limited amount of time that you could have these in the actor's eyes, so we had to be careful with letting him have proper rest and lubricating his eyes. But yeah, it was fine. We're mostly practical effects. There's very, very little CG in the film. I'm a fan of practical effects, so I didn't want to do it digitally. There are a few digital moments in the film, but they're very, very limited. And I always feel like it's better to do as much in-camera effects as you can.
It's definitely more charming. Get that '80s vibe back.
A little bit, yeah, I think so. I think even contemporary films that use practical effects are enriched for it. I think sometimes a judicious combination of digital and practical is probably the recipe for success nowadays with today's audiences. But yeah, I'm definitely a fan of in-camera.
This is a deep cut. It kind of reminded me of the look of a couple of actors in an Italian movie. I don't know. Are you into Italian horror?
Sure.
It reminded me of The Beyond. Have you seen that one?
Yeah, actually, I had a VHS copy years ago. I remember the cover. Remember the cover of that movie. But yeah, no, it's you pull from every bag of tricks that you have, don't you?
Good stuff. Okay, so who are? So, this is sort of this is a mandatory
Good
question.
stuff.
Maybe it's a nutshell
Speaking
question.
of another good '80s movie was The Stuff. Remember that one?
Oh yeah. Of course. Larry Cohen, R.I.P.
Wow, very good.
Who are some of your all-time favorite killers from other horror movies?
Oh boy. I don't know if I have any. I think I just love cinema. I'm not. A lot of people, they just really they associate me with horror films. But I've had some success. My favorite filmmaker is Elie Kazan. He's a dramatist. He's a dramatic filmmaker. He's not even a horror filmmaker. But I just love and respect the genre. It's the only genre that's not star dependent. It's scare dependent, and it's the only genre that crosses all borders. So I do have a lot of respect for the fans. They're very loyal, they're voracious, and you have to deliver the goods because they're very smart and sophisticated. And yeah, I don't know if I've had any specific killers. My favorite horror film as a kid was Night of the Living Dead, and so there's a bunch of zombies in that. I don't know who the killer would be, but in terms of like the traditional Jason and Michael and Freddy's, that was really never my thing per se. I love the killer we had in Dark Ride, Jonah. As a matter of fact, Jonah, I don't know if you can see it here, but that's a sculpture of Jonah. You see that?
Okay. Yeah.
That was done by an artist named Neil, who's a friend of mine who used to sculpt for Hasbro in Rhode Island. He was like the top toy sculptor, and he gave that to me as a gift.
Okay, Greg, I appreciate it, but unfortunately, we got to leave it there, and I hope everybody checks us out 6:45.
Thank you.